everybody, and welcome to iReadit, bringing you your weekly dose of the internet for Sunday, January 6, 2019. I am Michael Schwahn. Nathan was going to be here. I had actually just talked to him about 5 minutes ago, but he was sick all week and was hoping that he'd be feeling better this morning, and he is, well, not. And I feel all up close and personal. I feel like you guys are too close to me. Anyway. Yeah, I need to fiddle around and adjust with some settings on the camera and such. I think I can actually do that just like right now and just ruin everything for all of my other things. Anyway, not the point. Point is that Nathan is not here. He has been quite sick. He was hoping that he'd feel better when he woke up this morning, and well, he didn't. So, can I zoom out a bit? That's as far as it zooms out. All right, well, that's as far as it zooms out. So I guess that's what we'll work with. It's better than what we had before, where you guys were all up in my nostrils. In any case, yeah, save my changes. Thank you. He woke up with some cold sweats, and I was like, dude, if you're not feeling up to it, then just say it. You don't have to be here and do the show. You don't have to force yourself to do something that you're not feeling up to. And he's like, okay. I was like, why don't you go back to bed? Actually, if you're having cold sweats, maybe don't jump into a cold shower. Actually, instead, why don't you how about instead you go take a cold shower, get back into bed, go take a shower, hose off, and then go back to bed if you're all cold sweaty. So that is what he is doing. So you are stuck with me and just me, as we don't have a backup. So with that said, you are stuck with me. So thank you. This is the 528th dose of the internet, and goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, please remember you can help support this show by going to patreon.com/dailyinternet. You can pick up our merchandise by going to the link in the description below. And yeah, anything you want us to talk about, just send it to us on any of our platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. All of those are at iReaditCast. So just send us anything, whether it's a news story, whether it's a topic that you just think is important, anything at all that you'd like us to talk about, just send it our way, and we will get it in front of everyone else, I guess. Sure, why not? So with all of that said, I'm just going to jump right into things. So as soon as I figure out how to make things work again, it works sometimes. Mostly it's just it doesn't want me to actually be able to change things. 10. Elizabeth Warren launches 2020 Presidential Exploratory Committee. Actually, real quick, I need to make a quick explanation. Normally, we do this show in a 10-to-1 order of what the internet cared about most. But this week, that is not necessarily the correct order, because I've been slowly building these notes throughout the week, grabbing a topic on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and so on and so forth. So these aren't actually in the order that they were on Reddit. So these are just 10 of the top things, not the top 10 things. So they're not in a specific order, so none of them are actually necessarily more upvoted than the rest. So just be aware of that as I actually count down through this. Now, reset that. 10. Elizabeth Warren launches 2020 Presidential Exploratory Committee. This was submitted by Progress 18 to Our Politics. It's happening, everybody. Elizabeth Warren is going to be running for president next year. Yeah, that's actually about it. I mean, there's nothing else to say on that. She's launching the exploratory committee to consider a 2020 White House bid. And let's be honest, she's like, well, we're going to launch this committee to consider if there's room for us to run in 2020. And it's like, yeah, Warren, you got room. I don't know why you need to check. I think really what the exploratory committee is to see just how many people dislike her, rather than if there's actually the potential for her to run. There's a ton of people that love Elizabeth Warren. She's literally like the other half of Bernie Sanders' coin. Although they do actually have a lot of separation in terms of their platform, the direction that they want to take things, what they think is truly important, what to do with money, when and where. But a lot of people tie them together in terms of the general direction from the left side of the aisle that they want to approach politics. That said, I do highly recommend that you, I'm sure there's articles out there of what's the difference between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders besides name and gender? So I advise you to go out and check, because she unless she just decides that she doesn't want to for whatever reason, which I can't imagine why, because she is a political juggernaut who's happy to shout from the rooftops about anything that she feels strongly about, and she feels strongly about just about everything. She will be running. So, and she will be one of the main contenders on the Democratic side of the ticket. So just keep keeping your eye on her. We don't really know. Like, there's some other people that are like, I'm going to run for president. And they're not like, there's always a lot of people like the dude that wears a fucking big ass boot on his head and wants to give everyone a unicorn or whatever his platform was out of California. Power to you, guy, because I still remember you, whereas there's a bunch of people that I don't. There's not really been anyone else that's, of course, except for the president himself, that have said that yes, they will be running again or running at all in 2020. So right now, the main two names will be Donald Trump and Elizabeth Warren. I'm sure we will see more as we go forward. There is the suspicion that we will see people like Ted Cruz. We're not talking about it today, but Ted Cruz, along with political person B, because I don't remember their name, introduced a bill that is trying to limit term limits on Congress. 2 terms for Senate, 2 terms for House, 2 6-year terms for Senate, 2 3-year terms for House, if you need the numbers there. And one, it's surprising seeing it coming from him. A lot of people are just suspecting that this is just a drum, essentially, to get attention, as he bids again to run for president in 2020 and has that sort of platform to go on to. But who knows? Anyway, so we'll see what's going on. I'm sure we'll see some more names come forward. People have been talking about Beto O'Rourke. He ran against Cruz in Texas. He's actually already said that he's not going to run for president. People are looking to see if Ted Cruz is going to run again, if Mitt Romney is going to run again, if we're going to see people like Marco Rubio run again, if Sanders is going to work up the gumption in his years to be able to run again. Who knows? But what we do know is that Elizabeth Warren is running, and no matter what, if she does stay in the race, she will be a massive juggernaut when it comes to the votes. So good luck to you, Warren.
9.
Duterte confesses he molested their maid as a teen. Oh, man. You know the people that you're like, there's just a couple of people in the world of like throughout history that you're like, you know what? You have 0 redeeming qualities. You're just a horrible person. Duterte is one of them. Rodrigo Duterte, who's the president of the Philippines, is a horrible person. He took office under very ambiguous, is that the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it wasn't exactly the cleanest way to take office. And as soon as he takes office, he's like, you know what? I don't want drugs in my country anymore, even though I probably do them myself. I don't want drugs in my country anymore. So if you do drugs, you need to stop doing drugs. If you need help stop doing drugs, we will help you stop doing drugs. And if you don't stop doing drugs, you're dead to us. And I don't mean dead to us like we're not going to talk to you about you anymore. We're literally going to come kill you. I will send the police to come shoot you. And if your neighbor catches you doing drugs, I'm going to give them permission to kill you. And then now we discover that when he was 14, not very old, he essentially went into the room of his maid, and because they had a maid when he was young, and just started doing stuff to the maid when she was asleep. And that's all I'm going to describe of that. Yeah, you're a piece of crap. You're just a massive piece of garbage. It amazes me, just like okay, it doesn't surprise me, it just amazes me that you can just continuously prove to be a worse and worse person with every last little piece of just story that exists of your life. Like, have you done anything good? Like, wasn't there also a story that he, like, killed his brother or some shit? I don't remember anymore. Jennifer Cruz in the chat room says, Vermin Supreme, and he wanted a pony for every American. I like the idea of a unicorn for every American better. I'm just saying. But I will accept a pony. Everybody wanted a pony at some point. even if it was just for a day. I just want to ride the pony for a day and then give it back because I don't want to take care of a horse. I've helped other people who have had horses because let's face it, I've never had the money to own a horse because that's something that, you know, when you were poor in the early 1900s, you owned a horse and rich people owned a car. And now everyone has to own a car and only rich people own horses. That's because they're really expensive and a shitload of work. And no, I got other things. I have other things. What am I trying to do? A podcast. I know that one, but what am I trying to do?
8.
No, I'm trying to change the topic. Teen commits suicide after accidentally shooting and killing friend. You know those stories that are just sad? Like, we just talked about a person who is just bad, and now we're going to talk about a story that is just sad. And, yeah. So this was New Year's. There was during a New Year's celebration, a bunch of teenagers, they were hanging out and being cool. And one of them thought it'd be cool to display the handgun that they got and went and you know those things that you see in movies and you just don't believe it's real, of like someone's like awkwardly pulling a firearm out of like their pocket or something, then it accidentally goes off. That actually happens very often. That is not just movie things that happen, you know, like people that have 5,000 bullets in a single firearm. No, that happens a lot, and it happened on New Year's. He was trying to pull out his handgun to show his friends, to be the cool kid, accidentally shot and killed one of his friends. Two of the other people just like ran away because, well, when you're like 17, you just panic. Like people like to like, you know, like, oh man, that teenager shouldn't have ran away. They have no concept of what's happening in life yet. Like, they think they do. I remember being 17 and thinking I was the smartest person on the fucking planet. You want to know who was wrong? Me. So, and when bad things happen, you have not matured enough or been through enough situations to understand how we should address this issue. And a lot of the times it goes back to that very base instinct of, do I fight? Which can be the mature side of things, of not necessarily fight your friend, but fight through this difficult thing, or flight, run away from it, just flee. That's what they did. The friend with the gun also panicked and ran and hid in his shed. If that doesn't make sense, that's okay. That's what happens when you panic. And the teen that shot his friend is the one that called the cops and called 911 and told them what happened and told them like the whole situation. And then while the cops were on their way and got to the house, he panicked further and shot himself. So yeah, that's the story. And I don't so in like the first question then becomes of like, where do you get the gun? And that is a very important question, but it is not a question that I want to ask right now because this just sucks. This young guy killed his friend and then felt so overridden with panic and guilt about what happened by accident, he decided that the only way out was to remove himself from the equation. And situations like that shouldn't happen. Like it's one thing if you guys are like going out and you know, being stupid people outside and one of you falls and breaks a leg and in the end everyone ends up being okay, but it's just like a crappy situation all around. This is just one of those situations that it's beyond crappy. It is just sad. So please be careful. And if you are a parent or an adult in general, especially though if you are a parent and you are a firearm-friendly parent, you like guns, say you own guns, okay? I don't blame you for liking guns. I go and shoot with a friend of mine every like 2 months or so. But the important thing is, when I grew up, my family, everyone from my mom to my uncles, always taught a very, very healthy respect and understanding of what a gun was. it wasn't one of those things of like, I'm not going to tell you or let you close to guns until you're 18. It's like, okay, well, you're like 8, which means you're old enough to lift this thing up and shoot someone with it. So I need you to understand that. So like, I'm pretty sure I shot my first gun when I was like 8. And that was really important because the first time you ever fire a gun, at least on my end, and from a lot of people that I've spoken to, obviously I can't speak for everybody, but the first time that you fire a gun, the amount of perspective that is put into your brain through the explosion that recoiled through your hand is insane. Like, you hold it and you're like, wow, this thing's like really sturdy. And then you shoot it and you feel the shock go into your arm and it reverberates up into your shoulder. Even if you fire it correctly, especially when you're 8, it doesn't feel like something that you should be able to hold. And the more that you teach someone what a gun is and teach them how dangerous it is and to respect it, the better off they will be when it comes to handling what that is. It doesn't sound to me like that situation occurred for this teenager. Like, I was taught very young about proper trigger safety, about proper safety itself, about how to handle a gun, about when, you don't point it. People say, oh, you don't point it at people. No, it's more than just, you shouldn't point it at people, dear. It's like, no, we need you to fully grasp and understand what this is and why you don't do it. And if you take those proper steps, if you do want to have guns in your house, or it goes beyond that. If your child is a friend and often goes over to a friend's house and that house has guns in it, if you want, it's perfectly fine. I'm not judging either of those parents. But if you're not if you're like fine with guns, but you're not having guns in your house, totally understand. That's us right here. Hello, woohoo. But if they are constantly going over to someone else's house and that house has guns in it, then you should still take those steps. Connect with that parent. Ask them if hey, I understand that you have a lot of guns. That's cool, but can we go shooting someday so that I can help teach my child about the respect that they need to have for what these are? Because I feel like that's a lot of the problem that exists, especially when we see issues with young people that are accidentally or even intentionally shooting somebody else, is that they've not been taught a very proper respect for what a firearm is. Not to grill you on parenting, I realized I just completely was just you should do this. Welcome to Schwahn Parenting Guide 101. And maybe that is what it is, and maybe that is what I'm saying. Either way, yeah, teach people in general a respect for what firearms are. Now, that said, if they go off the deep end and they decide to bust out a window in Vegas and just spray bullets down into a crowd, or they just severely hate gay people in Florida, can't do a whole lot there. That's an entirely different conversation. But we won't. I realized I just tried to skip a number, but we won't address that one right now. We've addressed it a lot in the past, and I'm sure we'll address it again at some point in the future.
7.
Carrying tasers increases police use of force. This was submitted by Mvia. I realized I didn't read the other one. The Duterte one was submitted by TR Doctor to Our World News. The teen suicide was submitted by Calistrate to Our News. And the tasers is submitted by Mvia to Our Science. So basically what it is that there's this thing called the weapon effect, of that if someone is able to see a weapon, such as a taser, a gun, a sword, whatever, because that item exists in the equation now, it alters what is going to happen. People will see a weapon and they will get nervous, or they will get edgy or cautious in a situation where they might otherwise not have been. Have you ever just been standing in line at the bank, and then you look in front of you and there's this dude that's just got a fucking Magnum sitting in his holster, and you're like, damn, that's a fucking Magnum. Jesus Christ, you gonna blow some holes in people or what? Your brain starts going through these situations of this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. What if what about this? What if this? What if this? What if someone goes and grabs it? Ah! Yeah, that's the weapon effect. That's exactly what that is your brain building on the sheer possibility of that this one thing exists. And for police who are responding to situations where it is a more delicate situation. Hang on, gonna drink. A more delicate situation that just upsets that entire balance even more. So they've conducted a study and found that if a policeman is not carrying a gun but is carrying a taser, the overall outcome in terms of what is the result of the situation ends up largely being the same as if they had a gun. Now, obviously, with a taser, they probably don't die. With a gun, they run, and, you know, some stupid American cop shoots this dude 6 times in the back because he feels like it. Again, different conversation. But the actual outcome is the same of either they were spooked, they were startled, they fled, they ran, they fought. Whereas the studies that were conducted, the study that looked at cops that didn't have any type of, I mean, I think there was, I'd have to go back and read, but I believe there was one that still had, like, they still had like riot batons, you know, the little, you know, tonfa looking things. I think that's actually what they're called. Anyway, if they didn't have a taser or a gun, the situation was significantly easier on everyone involved. There was no question on the police's side of, like, is this escalating to a point where I need to use a taser or a gun? Well, one, because they're not there. And two, not having a taser or a gun and that being extremely obvious to the people that the police are working with makes them easier because they're no longer like, you know, some people are like, oh, it'll just give them confidence that they can fight back or run away. Maybe it does, but it also, people will be like, I don't now have to worry about potentially getting shot or tased because so I can actually talk to this person without the concern of them just whipping out a taser and tasing my ass or shooting me twice in the foot. Like, again, like we wish it was the foot, but so the ultimate point there is that even just a taser escalates situations that otherwise might not have been escalated if a gun wasn't part of the equation. Which is interesting to me, not terribly surprising to me, and I wish that we can continue to progress in the entirety of that situation to build upon and find a better way to approach the way that find a better like loadout essentially for police so that every situation can reach a bucket minimum of violent outcomes when it comes to these situations.
6.
Bipartisan constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United introduced. This was submitted by Ray3142 to Our Politics. So, if you need a quick bit of legislative history, hang on one second. All right, we good. We got some coffee. If you need some legislative history of the world and you don't know what Citizens United is, here's a very, very quick, brief explanation. It's already over. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Citizens United was a Supreme Court case in 2010. And basically, to break it down, is that before Citizens United, companies were not allowed on any level, with very limited exception, to have a voice in the political world. They were not allowed to try to influence elections, to speak what they believed in, like, BP sides with Governor Douchebaggery. They weren't allowed to do that. And basically, the end result of Citizens United is that companies are people too. Yes, I know that sounds stupid. Companies are people too, and companies should get a voice as well. So across America, campaign laws had to change to allow companies on one level or another to express their political side. And what this has resulted in is most elections not being dictated by the candidates or the question at hand and the people that are affiliated with them. Instead, it is being decided, and because, like, before you're like, well, you should just vote for what you believe in. People don't know what they believe in, and money literally can buy votes. Maybe you're not handing a person $100 to vote for you, but if you spend more money than that person over there on advertisement and stuff, people often will just vote with name recognition. Whatever they recognize, whatever you are able to get them to agree with in your statement. Your entire platform when it comes to an election is purely devoted to trying to get people to not only go vote, but when they walk into that booth to punch the number that is next to your name or the result you want. Everything else doesn't matter for the most part when it comes to an election, as long as you're not saying something stupid. Yeah, anyway, beyond that. So now, after in the 8-9 years since Citizens United, all of campaign finance across the world has changed, and companies are now spending millions, if not billions, of dollars on what their opinion is. Literally millions and millions and millions of dollars on ads, paperwork, just everything you can imagine to decide what to speak their voice when it comes to what they believe should be the result of a political outcome. What does this mean? It means that most elections are actually decided by people with a fuckload amount of money because, well, a lot of people don't have time to sit there and break down every single candidate and find out what they believe in and what they don't believe in, or they make their decision really early. And when it comes to things that aren't candidates, such as like ballot proposition questions about like, should we put this tax on things, or should we shut this down, or should we sell this to these people, or should we allow these people to be part of this thing? Also on that, unless it's a very clear-cut issue, a lot of them are very complicated, and people, again, aren't willing or can't take the time to really build a knowledge base to comprehend what that question is. So very often, it's just about who can spend enough money to influence you to vote their way. Who can feed you enough information enough times in 30-second to 1-minute tidbits across a cycle to get you to believe that this is the result that you should choose. And it works. So there has been a proposed amendment to the Constitution to overturn Citizens United, because in the time since Citizens United, we have seen nothing but elections are like the entire election process has become one of the most corrupt things ever now, because it's not about your vote. It's not about what you say. It is about who is spending the most money. Across America, the entirety of elections, with very, very limited exception, whoever spends more wins. And it's one thing if a candidate is raising money from people that support them. It's another thing if a separate entity is just getting pumped with millions of corporate dollars and spending all of that in support or opposition of one thing or another. So our elections are no longer dictated by the people's vote, but by a company's money. And they want to change that. I do hope this goes through, but we'll see. I imagine that the corporate lobbyists will be spending millions and millions and millions of dollars again to ensure that this doesn't go through. Because that's what happens. Like people, like we talked about the the term limit thing earlier, that will never go through. And people think that it's because people don't want to put a deadline on their job. That's part of it. The other part of it is that companies will spend millions of dollars on lobbyists to make things like that not go through. Because if they've already bought this guy, they don't need a new guy. They just need this guy. This guy will do whatever they say. And so why would we want him to leave? He already does what we say. He's been doing what we've said for 25 years. I would like him to stay there for at least 15 more years. So what we also really need is to address our lobbying laws, because the amount of money and corruption that is conducted through lobbying is insane. The fact that it's even legal at all is impressive to me. In fact, in several countries that aren't America, it is illegal because it is purely just companies trying to get you to do whatever benefits the company the most and not what's good for the country or for the people. Anyway, moving along.
5,
Democrats introduce bills to eliminate Electoral College and stop presidents from pardoning themselves. This was submitted by iReadit to Our Politics. We talked earlier about the drum when it came to Senator Cruz and the term limits. Talked about it a couple times now. This is a drum. This will not happen. The Electoral College will not go away. And mostly, again, because of lobbying and companies that don't want that to happen, because it allows them to an even easier path to influence the true outcome of an election, especially on the presidential scale when it comes to the Electoral College. A lot of people are also, like, very large number of people are divided on the Electoral College based on its purpose and its result. I mean, we can just look at the 2016 election. Clinton won the popular vote by more than 3 million votes, but still lost the election due to the Electoral College, which was also, on a lot of ways, the purpose of the Electoral College. Because oftentimes in America, I can't speak for other countries, the most people live in urban areas. Like, we can look at the population of California and see just how many people live across areas like the Bay Area, Los Angeles, and like San Diego, and that's like a huge portion of California. Same with like Florida. I mean, sure, you have like little retirement communities, but really you're looking at places like Orlando, Miami, New York. The number of people that live in New York City, New York is fucking massive. Like, the vast percentage of people in America live in major cities. And the purpose of the Electoral College was to prevent people who don't live in major cities from being silenced by those that do. Because, for instance, if a vote comes up, and I'm not going to provide an exact example of what the vote would be because I can't think of it right off the top of my head. But if it more strongly benefits people in cities and is detrimental to people in the rural area, for whatever reason, if it was purely about popular vote, well, in that instance, the city would always win. And if you agree with that or don't, that's fine. I'm not telling you whether that's right or wrong, but that was the idea behind it, is that and often people in a major city or in a metropolis urban area have a very different mindset and outlook than people that live in a rural area. But decisions affect both of them. And so the idea behind this was so that the people in the rural area would not just be completely overwhelmed and silenced by the people, by the mass mobs that exist in major cities. That's the purpose behind it. Whether you agree with it, disagree with it, I'm not going to tell you whether it's right or wrong. I mean, there's a lot of like good and bad points on both sides of that side of that question. But the point of this topic is that a bill has been introduced to eliminate the Electoral College. Now, there's also a thing here about preventing the president from pardoning themselves or members of their immediate family, which whatever. That might actually happen depending on if it gets tied to something or not. Maybe, I don't even know. But beyond that, the main one here is the elimination of the Electoral College. It's not going to happen. I do not see it happening on any level. Even if it does manage to get through the very Democratic House, it will not get through the very Republican Senate. And I still just see this as a drum. This is just somebody drumming up attention of, look at my platform, I'm good, they're bad. And that's all it is. It's just trying to draw lines in the sand of this is because almost all of American politics now is purely a strictly divided us and them mentality. If you are not with us, you are with them, and fuck you. And that's a really bad approach to basically anything, but is the approach that they're taking. So, good luck to them. If you do want my opinion on it, I personally would like to see the Electoral College eliminated. I believe that America is beginning to get in a place now where we don't have to worry as much about things such as the something affecting a city in a good way and affecting a rural area in a bad way. A lot of that was established well before we had like proper communication lines, faster modes of travel, the internet. I think there are ways to address any issue that comes up in a much quicker fashion without having to have these roundabout situations that were built 200 years ago. That's my opinion. If you don't agree with it, if you think we should keep the Electoral College, I don't have any issue with that at all. There's some things that I feel so strongly about that I'm just like, no, I truly believe that you're wrong, and I will do everything I can to convince you otherwise. This isn't one of them.
4.
Student drug dealers spared jail as judge says he was impressed by the grammar in their text messages. This was submitted by Donyo to R. Not the Onion. Damn it. Damn it. So, yeah, 2 teenage drug dealers were praised by a judge for their high standard of grammar, which basically, realistically, just meant that they spelled out the word R instead of just using the letter R, and spelled out the word U instead of using the letter U, and spelled out the word great instead of typing GR8. But either way, basically the argument was, and I hate this argument, it's an atrocious argument. The initial argument by the defense was that, like, these guys have so much coming from them. They're due to start a degree course later in the year. They're involved in performing arts. They have all these things they're working towards. Okay, you still did a bad. Like, you know, you want to bring back one of the ultimate shitlord scrub pieces of garbage ever? Let's take a look at Brock frickin' Turner, dude who raped a woman behind a dumpster, and the goddamn defense was like, yeah, but he's doing great in school and he's got a bright future ahead of him. And the judge like, sounds good, peace out, bro. Fuck these guys. That's not how this works. You do something wrong, you do something illegal, you do something that you know is wrong, you don't get a pardon for it. Speaking of things that I feel strongly about, this. Damn it. Now, one exception that I will state on here, and I would have accepted it as a different result, is that it's cannabis, is what they were in trouble for. Now, that said, I believe that it is a non-destructive substance, it is non-harmful, and that it is slowly, the dominoes going to continue to fall across America until it is just a recreationally legal substance, except for probably a couple states that are just like, fuck you, we're holding out, within the next 10 to 20 years. However, it's still illegal in places, and if it is illegal in places, you need to be aware that it's illegal and not go fucking around with illegal shit. And so, it's illegal. Don't fucking mess with it. If you want to fuck around with it, go to one of the states where it is legal, or wait until it's legal in your state, or, you know, pick up the initiative and push to legalize it yourself. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Oh, this was in the UK anyway, but statement still stands. All the points I made still stand. Yeah. All right. Anyway. God damn it. I'm trying to just change the fucking ticker on here, and it's not wanting to let me. Come on. There we go. Okay.
3.
For-profit college cancels $500 million in student debt after fraud allegations. This was submitted by writer Dave to our news. Probably much to the dismay of the people that didn't go to these colleges, because, and everyone else goes, wait, can I, what about me? Come on. So, if you attended Career Education Corporation, man, does that just sound like a bunch of suit hack jobs. They've been being investigated since 2014. After several complaints from students and even an actual pretty damning report by the United States Senate. after the investigation and a settlement that has been agreed to with 48 states and the District of Columbia. These two national for-profit college chains will be erasing $500 million in debt. I can't, you'll have to find out for yourself if you're one of the people involved, but hopefully you are, because it's something that, like, student debt in America is something like, wait, I guarantee you I could just Google this. Student debt in America. $1.5 trillion across 44 million Americans. The average student loan borrower has $37,172 in student loans. Hey! Fuck that. That is the, fuck that. But congratulations to some of the people that no longer have to be destroyed by it.
2.
First openly bisexual senator forgoes the Bible and has Mike Pence swear her in on a law book. This was submitted by, whoa, hang on, SSSV for life. To our atheism. I'm not sure what SSSV is. Hang on. SSSV. It is I don't think that's right. Subsurface safety valve. I mean maybe, maybe. Who am I to judge? But something tells me that's not what it is. Space Station Silicon Valley? Sure, maybe. Sensation seeking scale version. All right, anyway, I'm thinking like Super Saiyan something. I don't fucking know. All right, anyway, moving on. So, Kirsten Sinema? Fuck, I don't know. Kirsten Sinema. Cinema? I'm going with cinema because it sounds like a movie. And this is a goddamn fucking Lifetime show right now of watching Mike Pence's face just die on the inside as he has to not only swear in this woman, but also has to swear in this openly bisexual woman, a walk of life that he himself has personally condemned multiple times. Like, he is so anti-gay, like just super anti-gay. And yes, I understand bisexual is not necessarily gay. It is its own walk of life, but there's a lot of people who don't see it that way. Even like some gay people are like, that don't even think, like, we'll just be like, oh, so you're just gay. And it's like, nope, it's different. But beyond that, not only that, she is not openly religious. In her official documentation, she lists herself as unaffiliated when it comes to a form of religion, which people are like, oh, is she an atheist? It's like, shut the fuck up. It doesn't even matter. Move on with your life. But there's just a immense amount of satisfaction of watching Mike Pence's face just wilt when it comes to having to swear in somebody who is like the antithesis of everything he stands for and believes in the world into the very, very government that he is the vice president of. So congratulations, Senator Sinema. I'm going with cinema. I like that better. Cinema sounds like that has the word. They both have cinema, sin. They both have sin in it. Damn, that argument doesn't work anymore. All right, fuck it, moving on. All right, moving along.
1.
There we go. Workers at Amazon's biggest warehouse in Spain started a 2-day strike on Thursday just ahead of a gift-giving feast day as part of a long-running campaign for better pay and conditions. This was submitted by Glazier to Our World News. So there is a special holiday in Spain, which it's kind of like their form of Christmas, if I remember correctly. Not kind of like Christmas. I'm stupid as shit. They're celebrating Epiphany, which is the day that the three kings brought gifts to Jesus in the Christian tradition, which I didn't realize was like a holiday, but that's cool all the same. And most Spaniards mark this day by exchanging presents, so it's kind of like it's really fucking close to Christmas. Anyway, regardless about that, most of the Amazon workers in Spain have said no, or not going to process your packages for Epiphany because you guys don't pay us dick. And I see no problems with this. You know, it bothers me that there is still this fight for 15 going on of people trying to get $15 an hour. And that, like, it doesn't bother me that you're fighting for $15 an hour. It bothers me that you're only fighting for just 15. $50 an hour is not enough money. Like, at $20 an hour, you will now be at about the level where you can afford stuff normally. So, yeah. Anyway, that doesn't change the fact that if you're getting paid like $8, $9 an hour, that you're just essentially just a slave. Like, the only difference between slavery and getting paid minimum wage is that instead of giving you the shitty food that you have to eat to survive and the craptastic cell that you, or, you know, mass big room that you all just pile into to sleep in, that you get to get a paltry little sum of money to scrape together and hopefully have enough to buy your own self your own little cell with maybe a bed in it and whatever shitty food that you want to eat compared to, you know, them just, you know, serving everyone slop. But outside of that, very little difference, especially considering most places that pay minimum wage. You're also you're not getting any level of benefits, retirement, health care, insurance, nothing. It's just slavery with extra steps. Yeah. Anyway, Nathan's not here, so we'll go with this. What did I care about in the last week? Well, it's a new year. Welcome to 2019, everybody. Happy New Year. I don't know exactly what I cared about. There's not been a ton that has happened. Couple things that I can think of that I did care about is that I am pretty excited that a very good friend of mine might be moving up here in a few months. In a few, I mean like 5 or 6. That's really cool, super exciting. I'm getting married in June. That's super exciting. I am working on launching a new YouTube series and getting into streaming on Twitch, so that's super exciting. Yeah, just a lot of I guess everything that I've cared about in the last week is actually stuff that's coming up over the next month. So that's all I got, though. I've been rambling on into your ear by myself for over 45 minutes, and I think that's enough of me. So with that said, let's go ahead and work on getting out of here. Please remember, everybody, you can help support this show by going to patreon.com/dailyinternet, picking up our merchandise in the link below, and thank you to all of those that do or that support us on Patreon. We love our patrons, and they've helped us do so many things. Get me a new computer, get Nathan a new computer, so all of our technology doesn't just shit out on us when we are like, it never fails. You're on a computer, and you're like, you know, derping along, and then someone needs something, or you need to do something important, and that's the moment that the computer's like, nah, I'm done, bro, I'm done. You're like, yeah, no, work right now, sucker. We're supposed to go live at 9 a.m. What the hell's wrong with you? So thank you all for that. We've managed to buy Nathan a new microphone. We just got his computer paid off. So thank you so much to everyone that has been supporting us on Patreon or by picking up merchandise. We truly, truly appreciate it, because we've taken that and just immediately turned it around to injecting it straight back into the show to provide you a higher quality product. Our audio has improved vastly in the time since we began. Like, I think we achieved a pretty decent starting point, but I can say without a doubt that year after year we are able to continue improving our audio, and like because of all of this, we've been able to establish the stream, the video, where we stream onto YouTube, we stream onto Facebook, and we were able to provide it on so many more platforms, and it's truly because of you. So thank you so much for your continued support. If you would like to contribute in just a topic for us to talk about, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iReadit, all of those are at iReaditcast. Send it along. Even if it's like, hey, what do you think about this video game? Are you guys excited for this movie? What is your opinion on, like, I mean, we had Chadwick recently, who's a very right-leaning but very devoted listener to the show, and we appreciate him a lot for being around with a different viewpoint. Ask us about the removal of Sargon of Akkad from Patreon, who I just talked about how Patreon's a supports us, and he was being supported through Patreon, and Patreon removed him and stole his funding out from under him. And we talked about that last week, and to a pretty, significant extent about like, well, why that happened, and really where we stand on the whole thing. And so if you have something you want to talk about, let us know. Otherwise, you can follow me on social media at Schwahn Michael. Nathan is at Bimmenstein. He will hopefully be feeling better and be back next week. As a reminder, we do go live Sundays only now. We were a 4-day-a-week show, but Nathan got a new schedule, which that is now shifted. So we're just once a week. Once a week on Sundays at 9 a.m. is when we go live. But, of course, you can always catch it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere else. Just feel free to search it up. We have actually finally hit the point where if you just Google our name into Google, like our shit shows up first, which is fucking sick. Like, because it always sucks when you're like, type in my shit, and you're like, what the hell is this stupid ass shit from 2013 that doesn't exist anymore? So, yay to us, yay to you. Thank you for your support. That was your 528th dose of the internet, and we will see you next week. And please remember, everybody.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
Goodbye.